John's at his desk. We're in his office with the screen here, and we're going to talk about the Zero
as it centers itself. So we took a cue from this.
As crazy as it sounds, the thought of Zero probably started with the desire to buy a 5-axis mill. That was the beginning of it, and then it turned into, all right, what can we make different about a press that nobody had done before? It just seemed like if you started with a billet and could machine 5 sides of a press in one shot, you could make a really solid product that nobody was making yet. A lot of the initial requirements were make this thing out of a solid chunk of aluminum, be a turret press, but have the accuracy of a single stage press. We didn't like a lot of the slop that you found in other presses. When you would shake the handle, you could move all the linkages side to side. So let's eliminate that, and then let's make it the smoothest running press you can buy. Take all these things and put it into a press that we're gonna make. That was what really gave us the ingredients for me starting to work on a design. It really just grew from there. 2020, March, somewhere around March 10th, the design work started. Just looking back at old screenshots. By March 14th, we had kind of a working model with linkage and everything. On the same day, March 14th, we placed the purchase order for the UMC 500 before we ever had a working, actual machined prototype. Within the next half a month or so, we had worked up a prototype on our 4-axis mill. We just built off of that, and things kind of grew together as we would look at designs. We didn't like certain things, or probably after a couple days, we had it to the point where, all right, we just got to make this thing now and see what it does. Probably a good portion of 8 hours was spent just fine-tuning the linkage, what we thought was going to work at first. We had it modeled up just in 2D to where you could move the linkage and see the ram go up. And how do we maximize the stroke the stroke of the ram while minimizing the throw of the handle? Once we had that nailed down, what we thought was going to work, within a week we had a prototype done on a 4-axis with a 5-axis fixture on there, just indexing it on a rock lock fixture. I can't imagine it was more than 2 weeks from the beginning of the idea of this to having our first working prototype. It gave us the basis to work off of. When you're talking about the Zero, we make something like 27 individual parts for that thing, and you change one part of it and all of a sudden you have to remake 10 of those parts. That's where a lot of sleep gets lost, I guess, because I don't have the stamina that I did back then for staying up until 2 in the morning out in the shop machining stuff, but that's what those days were like. Yeah, I remember being out there every single night until midnight just making parts, trying to make this thing work.
So thinking back on the live stream, it was very much a lightning in a bottle launch situation. We're like a month into lockdown at that point. The whole world has stopped. Everybody's working from home. And we fire up this live stream like in the middle of the day on a weekday from John's office. And the way we're set up, you'll see I'm sitting at a table. John comes in off screen. There's renders on the back because it's all feeding from John's computer, which is right in front of us. And Justin's sitting there and he's writing notes on paper, showing it to us, and Nathan is running our especially sophisticated iPhone live stream setup at the time. And we just sat there and talked about a product that didn't exist. We get off that stream and we look at the analytics, and we'd had a couple hundred people at one time watching that stream, and for us at that time, we're like, whoa.
It reminded me of 2018 when, you and John would come up with a product and I'd see the design and on the website before we even started it hitting the floor. So it wasn't completely new to me where I didn't see the product until prototypes were being run. We've got this new big product coming down the line, something bigger than we've ever taken on before. It wasn't rendition of an Arcalock rail at a different length or a scope rail for a different manufacturer. This was going to be a complex part. And I think the feeling around the shop was definitely this was going to change Area 419 for the rest of its existence. But we were full force pushing forward. Let's get the machine in here and let's start ramping up production to make this happen.